Hey guys, Dwayne here. Today I want to talk a little bit about managing your anger from narcissistic abuse. Uh, One of the things that's really frustrating when you go through this, it's the anger stage and how long that lasts. Anger can actually feel like a constant companion that just won't go away. And it's like every time you turn around, you're constantly mad and frustrated and angry about what's going on and what's happening to you, what's happening to your kids, and the entire situation. Now, the first thing right off the bat is you have every right to be angry. Just what you're going through is a very painful process that, in a lot of ways, you feel helpless when you're going through it. And you have every right to feel that way because a lot of this stuff is out of your control. And so the main thing on that is this is all about control. Your ex is still trying to maintain control and emotional control over you. And if you're still in the anger stage, then the ex still has it. And they can utilize things like, the system, so to quote unquote, to manifest that. When you go to court, if they've got the upper hand, we talked a little bit, I've seen some of this conversation in the comments, where people will talk about how they underestimated what they were dealing with and it put them at a significant disadvantage. And depending on that disadvantage, you could get blindsided, right? If you go in woefully underprepared and they have their A game on and they've already started their smear campaigns and they've got their flying monkey supporting them and all of that stuff, when you walk into your first court date, you could get ambushed right off the bat. And if that happens, it's like a constant barrage of triggers that continue to come, right? If they get full custody or they get majority custody or they get to make most decisions, then you have to go to them, God forbid, then you have to go to them to make plans with your kids and to be able to do things. And that is when if you're dealing with somebody that's reasonable, then it's not a big deal. If you're dealing with somebody who's a narcissistic, abusive person, they will use that to make your life a living hell. And then they can also utilize other systems like child support services and different things like that to also basically come after you. And when that happens, it is, you feel, like I said before, you feel powerless when you're going through that. And when that happens, you're giving the ex control. Like I said before, you're allowing them to control you by getting mad about it, right? And now you could turn around and say, okay, well, that's great, but I'm mad. This isn't right. I'm being victimized every time I turn around. I try to talk to the school to get information and they won't tell me anything because they gave it to the other parent. They gave it to the mom. I try to talk to the doctors, but they won't interact with me. I was paying, it could be that you were paying money directly to her, which, guys, if anyone is doing that, let me just say this right now. If you have a support payment you have to make, and if you're paying it directly, one, you need to not do that. And two, if you are doing that, you need to have meticulous records. You need to make sure that you write a check for everything. You get a receipt for every time you give her money. And there is a clear track record for it. Because I will tell you, and I had a friend of mine who's currently going through this right now, you can be paying and everything can be fine for years. And as soon as the other person, whether it's the mom or the dad, whoever's the one getting support, if they turn around and pick up the phone and they call the local child support services, at least in the US, this is the way this works, they will open up a case. They will basically calculate out what you think you owe. And now think about it. The narcissistic ex isn't going to say, oh, well, I just want you to manage this. And they're current, they paid up. No, that's not what they do. They turn around and they say, well, I don't know if I've got everything, and then what happens is they come after you. And if you can't prove it, or if they haven't tracked, if it wasn't going through the system already, they'll just immediately turn around and say that, oh, okay, well, you haven't paid. There's no records for 5 years that you've paid. So guess what? 5 years times X amount a month times 12 months a year, and boom, now you have a huge payment, and they come after you with that. And when that stuff happens, you have every right to be angry. But here's the thing. It doesn't do anything good for you. I mean, I get it, guys. And I've been there. These things happen and you get really ticked off. And you need, and you need to process that. You need to let it go. You need to let it hit you. You need to process it, and you need to let it go. And the main thing on that is if you don't let it go, if you don't release it, you continue to give them power and control. And guys, I get it. You are powerless. You feel powerless when you're going through this. But here's the thing. There is an end in sight, right? If you are paying, primarily I'm talking about this in regards to money, but those areas of control where they still have the ability to harass you. And even with the kids, with them using the kids, as soon as the kids are 18, now granted, depending on what damage they've already done, but the child support stops and their control, their actual control of what the kids can do stops. In other words, once they turn 18, they can manipulate and they can ostracize their child if they wanted to speak with you. And guys, I know people that's happened, that their kids turn 18 or 19 years old. They decide, hey, I vaguely remember this male figure that was in my life, and I would like to get to know them again because they were my biological father. And the mom, in this particular scenario, the mom basically said, okay, fine, you're cut off. No, I'm not giving you any college money. You can't stay in my house anymore. You've made your choice. Get out. Seriously? But bottom line is, once they turn 18, those control mechanisms stop. But here's the thing on that. If you have a long ways to go, that can seem forever. So you have to make the decision that you are going to release that anger. You have to let it go, guys, because the longer you stay angry, and I mentioned this in some other videos, but that anger corrupts your life. It also interferes with the life that you're trying to make with your kids as well. It corrupts everything. So, and like I just said, the main, I didn't say this, but the main thing about doing this, getting the anger out of your life, is it creates stability back in your life. Okay. And when there's stability in your life, then it really helps with your children. If you're trying to hide it, but if you are super angry and, you're throwing things around the house and you're just quick to snap, your kids feel it, and maybe when they get older, they can understand some of this, but when they're younger, they don't get it, right? They're going to think that you're mad at them. Like I've said before, if they've been triggered and conditioned, if they've been conditioned to think that you're an angry, bitter person and they're over at your place and you are angry and bitter, well, guess what? You've just, on top of everything else, you just validated what their mother or what the other parent is saying about you. And guys, I get that this is hard. It is super hard. But, you really have to find a way to channel that. And it's going to take a while, right? And for me, the way I got through it, it was basically saying to myself, you're not going to break me. There's a finite time on this and it will be over. I will have my life back and you will no longer have control over me. And that's kind of the mantra that I've had to say to myself to get me through some of this stuff. Bottom line, and like I said at the beginning of this, you have every right to be angry. You do. This whole situation is absolutely wrong. It's not right. It's morally wrong. You don't deserve it. It's totally messed up. But you have to take your power back, right? And the only way to really do that is to take away the ability for them, for their actions, to control your emotions and make you angry and make you irritated and stuff like that. As soon as you can do that, one, you take your power back, like I already said. You create stability for your kids, and you make a better environment, and things start getting better with your kids and even with yourself. But the last thing I want to leave you with is, you're the only one who can decide when you're ready. Okay? So if you feel like you need to stay mad because you are mad, rightfully so, that's fine. Just, give yourself the time to do it, but just think about everything I've talked about in this video and about, the fact that you are still giving them control when you're in that, and find a way to look down the road on how you're going to get through this, and how, when I say that, you could look at it and go, well, I'm never going to get through this. And there's all kinds of reasons that you can feel that way. Because, maybe your finances have been destroyed, your credit's been destroyed, your retirement has been destroyed, your retirement savings has been destroyed, all those things. But guys, think about it. Everyone that you've looked at who's been through this, I would say probably 90% of everybody recovers. Now, they still may be angry and bitter, but they recover. Now, there are a handful of those people who get so mad and so angry and make really bad decisions, which just compound to make things worse. And I'll make another video about that later. But so if you're in that stage where you're angry, feel it, process it. If you're not ready to move on, that's fine. But just, maybe come back to this video a couple of times and just think about it. And just think about, do you want to stay in this mode for forever? Do you want to stay in this mode for years? Or do you want to just stay in this mode, this angry mode, until you finally just kind of make your peace with it? You can release that anger and take back that power and move on. All right. So if you guys have some comments you want to share with how you've dealt with the anger associated with this, or maybe if you're still going through this and you still are really mad and you just can't get through that, share in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like this channel, please subscribe, and I will talk to you guys on the next video. So take care. Bye.